am your father.
That's impossible!
As powerful as Darth Vader may be in Star Wars, he sometimes pales in comparison to his son, Luke SkyWalker. Conceived by midi-chlorians, Anakin Skywalker was the chosen one, a living representation of the Force itself. This made him one of the most powerful Jedi of all times, and he demonstrated this power countless times in the Clone Wars, fighting on the front lines. Although he had many defeats over the years, Anakin was bested by Count Dooku in Star Wars Episode II: Attack of the Clones. For example, this was often due for his hot-headed and brash nature. Still, Anakin's raw power in the Force usually got him out of scrapes, and he was always able to rely on his friends and other Jedi to help him if he was in over his head. When Anakin fell to the dark side, his alter ego, Darth Vader, had become one of the most powerful Sith of all time. For all that's the case though, he had quite a few surprising defeats, most notably 2 at the hands of his former master, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and 1 at the hand of his own son, Luke. While he did lose this fight in Return of the Jedi, it wasn't because of his lightsaber skills or force potential, but because, in truth, his heart wasn't in it. Those circumstances mean this wasn't an especially fair versus match, and many viewers have eagerly debated whether Darth Vader or Luke SkyWalker should really be considered the most powerful. And that is the question that we plan to settle today. But before we dive into it, we post death battles like these every week, with the occasional power ranking thrown in, and if that's something you think you'll enjoy, then be sure to hit that subscribe button. Emotions out of the way, Darth Vader is easily the best fighter in the galaxy. Paul S. Kemp's novel Dark Lords of the Sith is set shortly after Anakin Skywalker has become Darth Vader, and sees Palpatine engineer an elaborate test of his new apprentice. The 2 Sith Lords work together against a rebel attack, and Palpatine is given the opportunity to examine Vader's connection to the Force in a combat situation. According to the Emperor, Darth Vader's intimate connection to the Force is absolutely unparalleled. This has been demonstrated in countless comics, novels, and even the Disney Plus Obi-Wan Kenobi TV show, in which he used the Force to drag an escaping ship back down to the ground. Darth Vader's most impressive feats are seen in the Star Wars comic book event Vader Down, in which the Sith Lord is shot down on the remote planet Vrogas Vas and must survive an entire rebel army. But is that enough? Let's not forget that Darth Vader lost a great deal of his Force potential when he lost his arms and legs. Luke was an intact human and was the offspring of Anakin, giving him probably a bigger Force potential than Vader. Also, Darth Vader's cyborg armor may have enhanced many of his physical attributes, but it also meant he was much less powerful. Luke had to tap into the dark side to defeat Vader, and it was possible that the Emperor was helping Luke as he egged him on to kill his father. Luke Skywalker was raw and untrained, but the Emperor sensed he had more potential than Darth Vader. It's not clear whether Luke possessed all the potential of his father, whether he had inherited the full power of the Star Wars Chosen One. Whether he was or not, though, is almost besides the point. He was certainly of more interest to the Emperor than Darth Vader. That is why Palpatine engineered that fateful duel between the two in Return of the Jedi. Unfortunately, it's difficult to say whether Luke Skywalker ever actually fulfilled this potential. As intimate as Luke's connection to the Force may have been, he also placed too many constraints on his development. The dark side is quicker, easier, and more seductive. To grow in the light side of the Force requires training. But the Emperor had destroyed so many sources of Jedi knowledge, meaning Luke had to travel the galaxy seeking long-lost holocrons and ancient, sacred Jedi tests. His inconsistent training likely meant he had a patchy knowledge of the Force, one that was not fully developed. Making matters even more frustrating, few stories have been told exploring Luke's powers as an experienced Jedi Master, leaving us with no real framework to determine how powerful he really was in his fight against Vader. Unlike his son, Anakin Skywalker spent years fighting on the front lines of the Clone Wars. This war lasted for around 3 years, but he faced numerous opponents and engaged in countless battles, as seen in the Star Wars The Clone Wars series. Of course, he faced a lot of powerful opponents during the Clone Wars, as these included the likes of Grievous, Dooku, Ventress, and several other capable opponents that could give the Jedi a run for their money. Even though we know that Luke Skywalker participated in the rebellion and was one of the rebel heroes that destroyed the Empire, we also know that there weren't a lot of ground battles fought at that time. Most ground battles involved stormtroopers, which are nowhere near the level of the enemies that the Jedi faced during the Clone Wars. Luke didn't have to face a lot of Force-sensitive people during the events of the rebellion, and after that, He spent years training other Jedi before hiding on a remote planet. So, while Vader might pack the experience, I don't think he would have the same connection to the Force that Anakin would have. And granted that he can still do some pretty cool things, Luke can surpass them in every way possible. So simply on the basis of combat experience, I think this fight would go to Vader. If Vader didn't succumb to emotional turmoil, it is likely that he can take on any foe in the galaxy. So hopefully, that settles the debate. Let us know what you guys think down in the comments. And if you enjoyed, consider subscribing to catch more content like this every week. Till next time.